In yet another lesson that I probably should have learned about pre-ordering video games, in that really you should just never. Electronic Arts and DICE continue to disappoint in really seismic fashion when it comes to Battlefield 2042, and I know a lot of us were hoping for some good news today when it came to their release and their sort of investor performance calls, whatever those executives do over there. DICE just dropped a roadmap for what the next 6 months look like, and congratulations, everybody hates this. So let's talk that through, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, you have showed up to the LZ largely unfinished and buggy, and welcome. Good to see you. So first I want to get out of the way, I actually kind of enjoy Battlefield 2042. It is certainly not in the top 3 of good Battlefields, that I can assure you. But generally, I'm not really in the angry Redditor camp of complaining about some of the more arbitrary and mundane changes that DICE made to the game. Sure, there was a lot of changes that was an effort of fixing something that wasn't broken, like removing the scoreboard or removing voice over IP communication between players. Really completely baffling choices that literally zero people asked for. I want to try to give a fair analysis to sort of what's happened with Battlefield 2042 and what's happened today and going forward. Why is everybody angry at DICE and angry at Electronic Arts for this? And if I really had to sum it up in just one sentence, Battlefield 2042 just sort of showed up in a lackadaisical fashion. Not particularly sure what its identity really is. I mean, it can be a fun battlefield in moments where everything sort of comes together, sure. But altogether, it was an idea that thought it was fully realized, but really that was just on the surface. Really, entirely, it wasn't realized at all. You have 128 players with bots and things like that, which, is all well and good, but we're taking place on maps that, honestly, and I'm not a DICE developer, to be sure, I don't feel like these maps or these modes were ever tested. I just sort of picture a small team sort of huddled up in a small room going, hey, this map looks cool. Let's do that, without really realizing the flow of things. And while I fully enjoy the 128 player aspect of things, and the maps are cool, I don't know why everybody's mad at tornadoes. I think they're great. They look awesome. And I do enjoy when they actually come through and kind of disrupt things a little bit, right? It adds a little spice to the sort of environment to help you manage your strategy, help you manage what you're doing in that very moment. It throws you off, and I think it's pretty glorious. So I'm not sure why people are mad at tornadoes or sandstorms or whatever. That's here nor there. But when 2042 launched, it launched in a pretty horrific state, right? Majorly, I'm a PC player for 2042. I have a fairly competent system with a 3070 and a Ryzen 9. And unfortunately, the performance is all over the place. It makes the play-to-play experience, the minute-to-minute gameplay, kind of laborious because there's hitching and frame drops and things like that. Even down to the point where it just sort of makes micromanagement of aiming just almost completely possible, or like impossible. Like if I'm getting shot from behind and I want to do a quick turn, aim and fire at somebody, in that microsecond, there could be hitching and frame drops that makes my aim completely off. And somebody who already had the jump on me just completely will annihilate me. Fair enough. So my biggest complaint with the game so far is it just kind of runs like doo-doo on my sort of perfectly compatible and capable machine, which is weird. I did not have that experience in the beta, to be honest. The game looked and ran pretty well in the beta, which actually, funny enough, was not what most people were saying. Most folks were just saying that it ran like crap. So the last couple of months has really just been this long task of DICE trying to claw back into the good faith of its player base and utterly failing to do so, right? Everything's pretty broken down at the moment, right? DICE took a long vacation. What was it, like 2 weeks worth? They've been a little condescending in their communication, which, I understand to a degree, right? When I'm directing my ire at just sort of deliberately toxic fan base, I can understand the temptation is there to sort of throw some snark their way for some personal satisfaction. So I can't be entirely mad at that, right? But when the fault is on your end and everybody is sort of angry at you and you know the fault is on your end, you might want to just kind of tuck down and just not do that. So now that DICE are back from vacation, another update's been released. It runs a tad bit better on my PC, at least when DLSS is concerned, so I get a little more performance out of it. It still runs like dog crap for a game that really shouldn't, but they made a tad bit of progress there. So today, they dropped information basically saying, hey, here's some things we're working on, and here's some disappointing news that we know you're going to hate, but we're just going to tell you anyway. So the long and the short of it is, I'm not going to read it all out for you. They did post it on Twitter, but the majority of what they're focusing on coming up is, of course, adding voice communication back into the game. This is one thing that has really screwed the gameplay experience when it comes to just sort of squad play and team play, right? You can't talk to people. The ping system is weird, barely functioning. And if I had to say, aside from their hazard zone mode being completely boring, it did not have the impact that they thought that it was going to have. It's just not a good mode. Honestly, I think they should just throw it out because it's not going to bring anybody into this game. I promise you. But I think if anything killed Hazard Zone, it was the lack of voice communication. They do talk about bringing the voices back. They talk about bringing back a tighter squad loop, refining the ping system, which is good news. Feedback-based improvements to gunplay. I don't particularly hate the gunplay necessarily, but it could use some tweaks. Maybe not so much in the feedback experience, but in the hit reg, in the hit registration. There's a lot of times that I'll be just shooting at something and it feels like the bullets are going nowhere, like I'm just shooting kittens at people. Improved reward loop, and of course expanded tools, modes, tweaks, and player experiences in Battlefield Portal. And when you look at reviews for Battlefield 2042, just undeniably, people's favorite thing about 2042 was Portal. And I feel like they should be leveraging that more, but really they've spent more time trying to police you when it comes to experience gains in Portal, other than just letting you just freaking jump in and have fun with it, right? And I think that kind of highlights the overall problem that we have with sort of progression-based multiplayer shooters, is that everything is XP and progression first, and that kind of takes away from the entire gameplay experience, right? They could have dumped the entire kitchen sink and everything in between into Portal, and it doesn't mean that much when they're spending so much time policing how much experience you do or do not get with it, right? They don't even have a team deathmatch mode. Yes, I do play team deathmatch in Battlefield every once in a while, right? If I want to warm up or I just want a quick, kill fest type of thing. They took it out of the main lineup, and it's really only available in Portal, and of course they spend more time trying to police your progression in it. And it's frustrating that this is such a mess and it's such a weird mismanagement when the game should just be good and just be fun. And even the sort of primary aspect of Battlefield 2042 that people liked was Portal has become a chore to get in there and enjoy and to play. So of course now the big news that they dropped today, that they're going to move Season 1, which was anticipated to drop really, I guess, any day or any week now, if we go by the original timetable that they presented. They're moving it to early summer. And that's a huge hit. And I'm going to explain why that's not that big a deal. I mean, for those of you that spent the kind of money like I did on Battlefield 2042 for like the Season 1 pass and things like that, that's a huge punch to the gut, because who is even going to be playing this game in the summer, right? Is this game even going to live that long with the current trajectory that it's in? I mean, there's a couple of anecdotes that we can visit to prove whether or not they would be, but if you look at Battlefield 4 launched in an absolutely terrible state, and now it's revered as probably the best Battlefield, sort of collectively, right? The sort of consensus is that Battlefield 4 was the experience. I mean, people were saying, why didn't you just do another Battlefield 4 type game when it came to Battlefield 2042? Because it was that good. So they rescued it. They turned it around, but this is a very different DICE. And we're also talking about Electronic Arts. Arts, the very same company that gave you Anthem, and that launched in a horrific state, and they're like, okay, we'll fix this. They spent some time trying to fix it, and then they just sort of took it out back and shot it. Like, sorry, we're good. We're not going to continue this. So the folks who early adopted and bought into Anthem have nothing to show for that now, which is so it's a little hard to trust Electronic Arts when it comes to just how long they're willing to wait or what they're willing to do to make sure that your experience and your time that you put into something is worth it. And even worse, for the folks that did buy in for the later versions that, already own the Season 1 pass and things like that, they're just kind of throwing player skins at you now. It's just like, here's a skin, here's a weapon skin, please don't be mad at us. And, listen, I have spent the majority of my time on YouTube covering a game like No Man's Sky. That is the quintessential example that we can look at when it comes to terrible launches and ultimately completely turning it around, right? It is the story. But I have also said that we can't compare a studio like little old Hello Games to a giant mega publisher like Electronic Arts. Electronic Arts absolutely had the capacity to move this game back by another year. They absolutely did. But the hubris and, of course, the greed of Electronic Arts to please the board and things like that, we got to get this out there. We got to get those numbers on the board, even if they threw a pile of crap in your lap. And again, I don't think that a pile of crap is the best way to describe Battlefield 2042. I think it's more good than it is bad. That said, it didn't have to be that. It didn't have to be that. It could have absolutely waited until, summer of this year or fall of this year to launch and be better quality and sort of better for the player base, right? Take care of your customer. This is not that, right? This is not taking care of your customer. This is not pleasing your fan base. This is just saying, sorry, we put out a product that's not complete and, well, you're just going to have to bear with us, right? And I'll end with this. How can they really fix this, right? How can they turn this ship around? Like I mentioned Hello Games a moment ago. Firstly, throw some resources at this. Really listen to what people want. Stop trying to fix something that wasn't broken, right? Most of what I see here on this list that they provided today were things that were staples in previous Battlefields, right? These were things that did not need to change and nobody asked for that. So yes, of course, fix those things, but fix performance. Put a lot more work and time into Portal. Dump Battlefield 3, dump Battlefield 4 into there, right? There were rumored makings for a remaster for Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. Make those happen through Portal, right? Let's make that happen. And then, of course, stop policing Portal like it's some sheltered child that needs to get out there and live free or have friends, just let Portal be, add more things to it, give it more capacity. Let that be the marquee selling point of 2042 while you fix everything else. Lastly, get rid of Hazard Zone. It is garbage. It is not a fun mode. It is not what they thought it was going to be. I don't think even voice chat is going to save this mode, right? It's just not fun. It's not good. It's not pleasing. And it should just go, right? No, don't spend any more time on Hazard Zone because there's not a lot that you can do with it. Replace it with some sort of battle royale, right? You can absolutely compete with Warzone. You have the framework to do it. You already have 128 players. You can already support large maps. Get to work on that and have that available for summer as well, right? And the weird part is that people keep asking, hey, do you want a battle royale? We want a battle royale. Do battle royale. Your last battle royale experience was not that great because you just dropped it before it could ever really be good, right? They have the way to do that now. So they should really do that. They should really make a free-to-play battle royale experience that complements 2042, put it out later this year along with Season 1, and just make this right? Hazard Zone is just not going to do that. Tell me what you think. If you're a Battlefield player, what do you think of your experience so far? What could they do to improve your experience with Battlefield 2042? Leave that in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one.